So Amazon just got $640 million in tariff refunds. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, my name is Dr. Ian Phillips, your political analyst for today, and we're going to talk about everything to do with tariffs. So if you guys remember, where's this story coming out from? Well, Donald Trump is the tariff guy. He's the guy who does everything with tariffs. He loves tariffs. It's like his favorite thing. And in fact, I would argue that was one of his biggest campaign promises going into the 2024 election. He said, I'm going to do tariffs. 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 And I remember saying, you can probably find an old tweet of mine on this. I said tariffs were probably going to be his worst legacy in office for his second term if he wins. And it was looking like he was going to win, because let's be honest, he was going to slaughter Biden. Biden dropped out. Kamala Harris had 0 votes. She became the nominee. What a democracy, am I right? And from there, she did no campaigning. She did Call Her Daddy podcast one time, and that was all she did. And then Trump was out there every single day, busting his ass, 3, 4 podcasts plus a rally every single day. And he ended up winning back the hearts of the American people. Well, his biggest campaign promise here, and one of his worst legacies, but definitely not the worst. I mean, nowadays he's selling insider information for $100K a month, right? He started a whole bunch of wars as the No New Wars president. He's covering up the Epstein files and all the crazy shit that's going on there. But the tariffs themselves, man, that was one of his biggest campaign promises. And so when he got into office, the first thing he started doing was putting tariffs absolutely every which way. Tariff this, tariff that, tariff that. And, the president has a lot of a power and jurisdiction under what's wartime powers, kind of. And they essentially, I thought they were fully within their rights to do so. However, Donald Trump sort of went so overboard with the tariffs, and the price of things started becoming so high that people were like, wait a minute, this is kind of getting a little bit messed up. And eventually got to the eyes of the Supreme Court. They look at it, and these courts start to rule it illegal. And they say, no, you can't do the tariffs, bro. Absolutely not. This has gotten too far. So Trump has to repeal the tariffs or whatnot, but the businesses see this and they're like, wait a minute, if these tariffs were ruled illegal, doesn't that mean that we can get paid for that? It's logical thinking, right? But here's the kicker. I didn't think that they would necessarily do this, but here we go. Yes, they are. Now, these tariffs here, it's particularly problematic because it's not like the businesses were paying these tariffs. I mean, it's not like that at all. In fact, what happens when you have a tariff, and again, we got to understand what tariff is. People don't really even understand that. All a tariff is a tax on goods coming into a country. That's all it is. So let's say that let's say you have, you want to ship pineapples into a country and pineapples are $100, right? So you ship the pineapple over, it's $100 to get that pineapple into your country. Or let's say it's $90 to get the pineapple into your country. You're going to sell it for $100, so you make $10. There's your 10% profit margin. But now let's say there's a 100% tariff. Right, so now you got to pay, a lot more money, right, to bring that pineapple into the country. So as a result, if the pineapples cost you $180 now, what are you going to be able to sell it for $100? No, you're going to have to raise the prices, and you're still going to want to keep those same profit margins, so you're going to raise it to $190. Or maybe if you're feeling generous, you're like $188 or $189. But generally speaking, the cost of tariffs, all tariff is a tax, ends up getting passed on onto the consumer. And this is a horrible thing because it means that the businesses probably don't even deserve any tariff refunds at all in the first place. But yet, this country is so corrupt that is what ended up happening. And now Amazon, one of the richest corporations in the entire world and in this country, now has received $640 million, which again is funded by the taxpayers. So that means the American people got hit 2 times. Not only do we get screwed with the cost of these tariffs being passed on to us, but we also got screwed with the cost of the tariff refunds being passed on to us now. It's so brain dead, it's so ridiculous, but that's the Donald Trump administration. So if you hate Donald Trump, hit that subscribe button here because we're going to keep talking bad about this guy. But before we get to the end of the video here, I just want to talk about the history of tariffs in this country. If you're an American and if you know anything about the founding of the country, then you know the United States was founded on a hatred for tariffs. We hate tariffs more than anything. No taxation without representation. That was essentially the motto going up. You can think of all the founding fathers. They would have been hearing this, this type of sentiment when they were, sort of around during the time of the Revolution. And essentially, the problem is that the tariffs were being unjustly put on us without representation. And so we sort of felt that, like, look, the rich, wealthy elite, they need some representation because their businesses are going to hit with these tariffs here, and then we got to pass it on to the cost of consumer. The average people are pissed off because now they can't get as many goods, and it was just driving our whole economy and our population mad over here in the colonies. And so what do? We start a war over it. We start a civil war. And then nowadays in our country, it's known as the American Revolution. I'm sure, in Britain or something, it's probably known slightly differently. But at the end of the day, those were over tariffs, and they were only over a couple percent tariffs, whereas nowadays we have crazy tariffs. I mean, for God's sake, like, you guys can see this right here. I have, I put it on screen for you guys. There was a Truth Social post from Donald Trump. He's putting a 200% tariff on generic drugs. Which is directly going to be resulting in the death, suffering, and misery of millions of Americans, something that nobody wants to talk about, but this is like a silent genocide, more or less. It's really horrible. It's downright evil. It's diabolical. But that's what tariffs do. They raise the cost of things, and it gets passed on to the consumer. Now, again, you can understand it. If businesses ate the cost, maybe we have to give them a refund, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, that's not even happening. The costs get passed on to the consumers, and now the consumers have to pay that again, all as a result of a corrupt president. It's really bad. It's a very, very horrible system here. And I'm not saying that there's not room for tariffs. In some cases, you might want to do tariffs in the event of, like, what they're supposed to be used for, the powers of the president, wartime initiatives, right? Of course, you might want to do some tariffs there if you really need to. Or maybe there's, like, certain things you really have to protect in the United States with respect to our industry. Maybe. I'm sure that there's probably an exception to the rule. But having said that, broadly speaking, all tariffs do is they raise the cost of things and they stifle competition. Because even if you were to, in theory, protect jobs at home, because that's, like, the idea behind it, right? Like, look at the generic drug prices, for instance, the 200% tariff. The idea is that if it's so expensive to get generic drugs into this country, well, then therefore people are going to start to make the generic drugs here. And if they start to make the generic drugs here, then not only do you put people to work, but maybe you can make them cheaper than the overseas one, and people are willing to buy American products, and that money starts to stimulate the economy a little bit. But the problem is now you're going to see some price gouging, because if they could have had, maybe some generic drugs for, let's call them $1, well, and there's a 200% tariff from overseas, and the Americans were making them for $1.50. Well, now they know that, hey, look, it would cost $2 to bring in the generic drugs, $3 to bring in the generic drugs. So maybe we can raise our prices to like $2.50 or something. It'll still be cheaper than the ones from overseas. So really, at the end of the day, the Americans are the ones who are losing with respects to tariffs. They destroy free market economies. And if you're a capitalist and you claim to be and you want to be America first, then you should not have them. So with that said, guys, I don't know, a little bit of a history lesson there for you. But if you did enjoy the video, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for some more content. Make sure you guys give your local Trump supporters the Fell For It Again award right here, boom, on screen. Because, man, they fall for it every day. So with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll talk to you guys later. Peace.